In the Imperium of Man, there is no innovation, no mercy, and no peace. There is only war. Humanity survives, not by progress, but by clinging to relics of a brighter past, wielding them not as tools of hope, but as instruments of annihilation. These are not mere weapons. They are apocalypse engines, forged in desperation, preserved by faith, and unleashed only when the Imperium demands extinction, not victory. These are the most advanced and most destructive superweapons of the Imperium of Man. Exterminatus and cyclonic torpedoes. To speak the word Exterminatus is to speak of the Imperium's final sanction. It is not simply a weapon, but a doctrine, the annihilation of entire worlds. At the heart of this apocalyptic judgment lies the cyclonic torpedo. These titanic warheads are delivered from orbit by the Imperium's largest battleships. When unleashed, they descend like falling stars, boring deep into a planet's crust before their payload ignites. The detonation is cataclysmic. The torpedo triggers tectonic chain reactions that rip continents apart. Oceans boil away in clouds of steam. The atmosphere ignites, wreathing the world in firestorms, visible from orbit. What remains is a black husk, cracked and dead, its surface scarred beyond repair. The Imperium does not wield this weapon lightly. Exterminatus requires the sanction of the Inquisition, and its execution is carried out only when a world is deemed irredeemable. Demonic corruption, alien infestation, or rebellion on a scale that cannot be contained for these sins. A planet and its billions are condemned. There is no negotiation, no warning, no hope. Once the torpedoes fall, the planet is already dead. To the Imperium, Exterminatus is not cruelty. It is mercy, the cleansing fire that prevents corruption from spreading to the wider galaxy. But to those who dwell upon the worlds it consumes, it is nothing less than apocalypse. The Life Eater virus bombs. If the cyclonic torpedo is fire, then the Life Eater virus is wrought a slow, agonizing death that consumes everything it touches. During the Horus Heresy, the traitor legions unleashed virus bombs upon the loyalist world of Istvan III. To those on the ground, it began with a strange mist, a fine rain that clung to armor and skin. Within moments, flesh began to liquefy. Entire cities drowned in their own populations as billions of souls collapsed into bubbling swamps of rot. The virus spreads faster than thought. It multiplies 1,000-fold with each heartbeat, infecting forests, oceans, even the very air. Animals, humans, xenos, all are consumed into sludge. And then comes the final cruelty. The contagion ignites, turning the entire planet into a firestorm. The oceans themselves explode into steam. The continents burn. What the virus does not rot, the flames annihilate. It is the most feared weapon of the Imperium, for even Inquisitors hesitate before authorizing its use. Entire planets die not in days, but in minutes. Death is not clean. It is suffocation, drowning, burning, and rotting, all at once. Even chaos recoils at the Life Eater, for it does not enslave or corrupt. It erases. The Nova Cannon. Among the weapons of the Imperial Navy, none inspires such terror as the Nova Cannon. These colossal weapons are mounted upon the mightiest battleships, their barrels stretching for kilometers. Each cannon fires a single shell the size of a Hab block, a warhead of compressed plasma encased in gravitic fields. When unleashed, the shell accelerates to unimaginable velocity, crossing kilometers of void in seconds. At its target, it detonates in a storm of incandescent fire. Entire squadrons are engulfed. Escorts vanish, cruisers crumple, and even mighty battleships are torn apart in silence. The Gothic War saw Nova cannons turn tides of battle. Chaos warfleets that had held the advantage were reduced to wreckage adrift in the void by a single salvo. The enemies of the Imperium fear many things, but few sights are as dreaded as the green glow of a Nova cannon charging. And yet, the Nova cannon is no common tool. It is unreliable, its ammunition scarce, and its construction a near-forgotten art. The Adeptus Mechanicus guards each one as a relic, its firing overseen by rites and litanies. To waste a shot is heresy. To fire one is prayer. Each shell launched is a fragment of history, a piece of technology the Imperium can no longer replace. But when they strike true, they do not just kill, they obliterate. The Vortex Missile. The Imperium's enemies fear many weapons, but none quite like the Vortex Missile, a weapon that does not simply kill, but unravels reality itself. On the surface, it appears as a simple warhead, launched from a mobile platform or starship tube. But within its casing lies a captive fragment of the warp, bound by technologies the Imperium barely understands. When detonated, the missile tears open the fabric of reality, birthing a swirling vortex of the immaterium. Everything caught within is dragged screaming into the warp tanks, titans, fortresses, and men alike. Even void shields cannot resist. Those who witness it describe impossible colors, the sky bleeding with madness, and the screams of those consumed echoing long after their bodies are gone. There is no recovery, no survivors. Where the vortex passes, only emptiness remains. The Vortex Missile is unstable, unpredictable, and dangerous even to those who fire it. Entire regiments have been lost when the vortex turned back upon its launchers. Yet still, the Imperium deploys them, for in desperate wars, annihilation is the only victory. The Mechanicus warns that each detonation risks weakening reality itself, opening cracks for daemons to pour through. But the Imperium cannot afford hesitation. Better to risk damnation than to suffer defeat. Phosphex Weapons. Some weapons are so vile that even the Imperium forbids their use. Among them is Phosphex, a chemical incendiary whose horrors have become legend. During the Horus Heresy, the Death Guard Legion made Phosphex their weapon of choice. Entire continents were drowned in seas of green fire. Trenches filled with bubbling corpses as the chemical flames consumed everything they touched. Phosphex clings like tar. It seeps into bunkers, tunnels, and armor joints, igniting flesh and stone alike. The fire cannot be extinguished, not by water, not by soil. It burns with a malign intelligence, seeking out victims, spreading until nothing remains but ash. Even the traitor legions whispered of its cruelty. The screams of its victims could echo for hours as they burned alive, their armor melting around them. Today, its use is forbidden, its production sealed. The Inquisition purges any who dare replicate it. Yet caches remain, hidden in Mechanicus vaults or wielded by the most desperate inquisitors. In times of dire need, Phosphex is unleashed again, and the galaxy remembers the green fire of hell. Volcano Cannons and Plasma Annihilators, Titan weapons. The god machines of the Adeptus Mechanicus stride into war bearing the most devastating battlefield weapons of the Imperium. The Volcano Cannon channels Melta technology on a colossal scale. Its beam cuts through void shields, melts adamantium, and pierces titans in a single shot. No armor can resist. Entire fortresses have been reduced to rubble by one blast. The Plasma Annihilator is worse still. It builds plasma within gravitic fields until it births a miniature sun. When unleashed, the weapon's blast vaporizes armies, cities, and everything caught within its storm. The ground itself turns to glass. Titans, like the Imperator and Warlord, carry these weapons as their fists, striding into battle like walking cathedrals of destruction. Their every step is accompanied by the roar of cannons and the prayers of tech priests. For each shot is not simply firepower, but ritual, Armies do not fight titans. They endure them, hoping only to survive long enough for their god machines to fall. But when a titan fires its Volcano Cannon or Plasma Annihilator, survival becomes meaningless. There is only annihilation. Ordinatus Engines. There are weapons even rarer and more terrible than titans, the Ordinatus Engines. These colossal machines are not mass-produced. Each is unique, a relic of the dark age of technology, preserved by the Mechanicus as a god engine of apocalyptic scale. Ordinatus Mars mounts sonic annihilators that unleash waves of sound strong enough to shatter mountains and crumble cities. Ordinatus Armageddon carries a Nova-scale cannon, able to obliterate entire divisions with a single salvo. Others bear weapons whose names have been stricken from Imperial archives, deemed too heretical even to speak. The deployment of an Ordinatus is an event unto itself. Entire campaigns are waged to escort one to battle. Whole regiments sacrifice to protect its passage. When its weapon fires, the battlefield is forever scarred. Ordinatus engines blur the line between war machine and apocalypse. They are not weapons of war. They are weapons of history. When one fires, the galaxy itself takes notice. The Deathstrike missile launcher. On the ground, few weapons are as feared as the Deathstrike missile launcher. To the untrained eye, it is but a vehicle, a mobile platform carrying a single warhead. But within that missile lies devastation on a scale few can comprehend. When launched, the Deathstrike arcs high into the atmosphere, its trail burning across the sky. Upon detonation, entire armored divisions vanish in a pillar of fire. Cities collapse into rubble. Shockwaves level fortresses. Radiation poisons the land for generations. Regiments guard their Deathstrikes as holy relics. Entire companies sacrificing themselves to protect the launchers. When the order comes to fire, the crews recite litanies of destruction, knowing they unleash not just a missile, but judgment. Few things can halt a Deathstrike, and fewer still can survive one. The Hellhammer Cannon. Unlike the Volcano Cannon, the Hellhammer is not designed to kill titans. It is designed to destroy cities. The cannon fires short-barreled shells filled with unstable plasma charges. Upon detonation, they create shockwaves that flatten fortifications, melt bunkers, and incinerate everything within. Enemy defenses that could withstand days of siege are reduced to rubble in minutes. On Armageddon, Hellhammers turned orc fortresses into smoking craters, their walls collapsing beneath barrage after barrage. To guardsmen, the roar of its cannon is a hymn of salvation. To its enemies, it is the voice of extinction. Where titans are scarce and cyclonic torpedoes unavailable, the Hellhammer brings apocalypse to the battlefield. The Imperium of Man does not wage war to preserve life. It wages war to endure. Its weapons are not built for victory. They are built for annihilation. From virus bombs that drown worlds in fire, to titans whose guns birth suns, to Ordinatus engines that scar battlefields forever. These are not weapons of mercy. They are extinction given form. What is considered the most terrible superweapon? Consider the Life-Eater virus, which can melt planets, and the Vortex missiles that can tear reality apart. Remember to like this video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with other warriors of mankind. For in the grim darkness of the far future, there is only war.